Welcome to Doomsday Prepper, where we prepare for the unthinkable. Today, we're delving into some of the most significant global tensions brewing right now. With Israel and Iran locked in a dangerous standoff, and China increasing its pressure on Taiwan, we're closer than ever to the possibility of a world conflict. Is World War III really on the horizon? Let's break down each situation and understand just how close we may be. Part 1. The Middle East on a breaking point. The Middle East has always been a region of high tensions, but what we're seeing now is a new level of hostility, with Israel and Iran at the center. These two nations have been in a shadow war for decades, but the current climate is different. With proxy conflicts, cyber attacks, and hostile rhetoric, the region feels primed for an explosive conflict. And let's not forget, Iran's nuclear ambitions add a terrifying dimension to this standoff. In recent years, Iran has increased its support for militant groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. These groups directly threaten Israel, and Israeli leaders have made it clear that they won't tolerate an existential threat. Israel has already carried out airstrikes on Iranian assets in Syria and Iraq, aiming to keep Iran's reach in check. But with each strike, there's a risk of escalation. Iran's nuclear program is another key factor here. While Iranian officials insist that their nuclear efforts are peaceful, other nations remain skeptical. A nuclear-armed Iran would significantly alter the balance of power in the region. Israel, which views this as an existential threat, has warned repeatedly that it may launch a preemptive strike if Iran gets too close to developing a nuclear weapon. If that were to happen, we're likely looking at a full-scale regional conflict with major powers like the US, Russia, and even European nations possibly being pulled in. Imagine the domino effect. If Israel attacks, Iran could retaliate, dragging in its allies and setting the entire Middle East ablaze. This situation has massive implications not just for the region, but globally. Oil supply routes, economic stability, and even the presence of foreign troops in the area would all be affected. What starts as a localized conflict could quickly become an international crisis. Part 2. Asia-Pacific tensions, China and Taiwan. Now, let's shift our focus to the Asia-Pacific, where China's ambitions to reclaim Taiwan are bringing the region to a boiling point. For decades, China has viewed Taiwan as a breakaway province, but Taiwan considers itself a sovereign nation. This clash of identities is now at a dangerous tipping point. China has ramped up its military exercises in the Taiwan Strait, and its air force has made a habit of breaching Taiwan's air defense zones. The message is clear. China is prepared to take Taiwan by force if necessary. Chinese President Xi Jinping has even hinted that reunification is inevitable, and some experts believe China might attempt an invasion within the next few years. If this happens, it's almost guaranteed that the US and its allies would respond. The US has a long-standing commitment to defend Taiwan under the Taiwan Relations Act, and American warships frequently patrol the South China Sea as a show of strength. Japan, Australia, and other Pacific allies have also shown support for Taiwan. A Chinese invasion wouldn't just be a battle for Taiwan, it would likely turn into a large-scale war across the Pacific. But the consequences extend beyond the battlefield. China is deeply intertwined in the global economy, controlling a significant portion of global manufacturing and critical supply chains. A conflict with China could disrupt the world economy on an unprecedented scale, affecting everything from electronics and rare earth metals to consumer goods and food supplies. In addition, China is a major nuclear power, and any conflict risks spiraling into a nuclear standoff. Part 3. Global implications. The road to World War III? When we examine both the Middle East and the Asia-Pacific, a disturbing picture emerges. These aren't isolated tensions. They're deeply interconnected, with alliances and rivalries that could draw in major powers from around the globe. Just as we saw in the build-up to the previous world wars, alliances create a web of obligations. If one conflict breaks out, other nations may be forced to take sides. Consider the players involved. NATO, with its collective defense policy, could be drawn into either a conflict in the Middle East or the Pacific if one of its members is attacked. Russia, which has interests in both Iran and China, would likely support its allies and act as a counterbalance to NATO. Meanwhile, the US faces the risk of being drawn into a two-front conflict, a scenario that could strain even its extensive military resources. With modern military technology, the risks are astronomical. We're no longer just talking about troops and tanks. We're looking at cyber warfare, economic sanctions, and even nuclear deterrence. Any escalation could quickly become catastrophic, affecting every corner of the globe. Part 4. Preparing for global conflict. What you need to do. As preppers, our goal is to be ready for anything, and a global conflict would mean facing unprecedented challenges. Here are 4 critical areas to focus on as these tensions continue to rise. 1. Food and water security. Global supply chains could be severely disrupted, especially if nations impose export bans or if key shipping routes are compromised. Stock up on long-term food supplies and make sure you have a sustainable water source, whether that's rain collection, a well, or reliable water purification methods. 2. Power independence. In a world conflict, infrastructure and energy supplies are prime targets. Consider off-grid energy solutions like solar panels, battery banks, and portable generators to stay powered up even if the grid fails. 3. Communication preparedness. In a time of conflict, information becomes a weapon. Rely on offline methods like ham radios, shortwave radios, and satellite phones to stay informed. Build a communication plan with family and community members to stay connected if conventional networks go down. 4. Personal security and evacuation plans. In urban areas especially, civil unrest is a likely consequence of global tensions. Prepare your home to be defensible and have at least 2 evacuation routes planned. Practice these routes with your family to ensure you can move swiftly if things get dangerous. We can't predict the future, but we can prepare for it. As the risk of a global conflict grows, it's essential to stay vigilant, informed, and proactive. Don't wait until it's too late to start preparing. Remember, it's not about fear, it's about readiness. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Doomsday Prepper for more insights and preparation tips in these unpredictable times. Stay safe, stay informed, and as always, stay prepared.